Miqtë e Politikave, përshëndetje. Në kuadër të nismës të njohim projektet e Bashkimit Evropian, ne sot do t'ju prezantojmë një tjetër projekt. Projektin që ka të bëjë me formulimin, koordinimin dhe implementimin e politikave të korrupsionit në Shqipëri. Është një projekt i përbashkët i Austrisë, Gjermanisë dhe shtetit shqiptar, financuar nga Bashkimi Evropian. Dhe për të na folur më shumë për këtë projekt, unë pranë me kam sot Detlef Kreutzer, i cili është Këshilltari Rezident i këtij projekti, gjithashtu edhe Lena Andersson, drejtore komponentit të parë. Welcome and thank you very much for accepting this interview for EU Politikave.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Kreutzer, can you please explain to the public or present shortly what is this project?
So, this is the largest anti-corruption twinning project in the Western Balkans we have had today. It has a 3 million budget funded by the European Union, and the lead partners are, like you mentioned before, the Austrian AED and the German it's called BVA. What does twinning mean? Let's just give a brief explanation about twinning. It's a special project. Twinning means close collaboration with experts of the member states of the European Union and with colleagues and partners to the Albanian side. So, even like twins. So, we are close together. So, this is the most effective way to share experiences and to lead for more sustainability at the end. So, the focus is in our project to improve the governance and reduce corruption risks in Albania. The project runs at least 30 months. We started our project in September 2019 and it will be ended in March 2019. We have nearly 50 international experts in our portfolio. They cover all needs of anti-corruption measures and also for anti-corruption strategies. Thank you.
Thank you for this briefly presentation. And my next question comes to you, Ms. Andersson. What is the support given by the project for the successful implementation of the anti-corruption policies in Albania?
Okay, so I think that maybe Detlef will answer this question, but briefly I can say we have 8 components in this program. It's a massive one, and the component that I am leading is actually the component that is supporting the national coordinator on anti-corruption. And the national coordinator on anti-corruption, currently the Minister of Justice, is the one that owns the government strategy on anti-corruption and the action plan. So this is part of my job through expert to support this. But maybe you would like to...
Okay, but my question, it could be also to you now. How was the collaboration with the Albanian institutions that you are collaborating about this project?
For me, I would say, I think I can see a big change now with the new government structure. The older government structure had a national coordinator who was a minister without portfolio, which means that was lack of resources and the absorption capacity was not so great. Now we have a minister which has resources, and also the Prime Minister is pointing out specific resources for this. So I think now, for me, I see very brightly on the future for this government.
Coming back to the question again.
Yes, I will continue. Thanks, Lena. So, as I mentioned before, we are here in Albania, in this area, to improve the standards of Albania to become, to get close to the standards of the European Union. This is the main topic of this project. This is also the main topic of all these kind of projects. For this purpose, we have these 50 experts, international experts, all from the member states, the large and long-lasting knowledge in the area of the anti-corruption measures and strategies. They're here for, and come back to Lena, for recommendations to laws, organization, strategy-related topics and trainings, and for encouraging the civil society and to improve transparency. Let me explain transparency. Transparency is the main enemy of corruption. All the perpetrators are living in the dark. Nobody wants to know. It's in a secret. So, and transparency can open the secret and bring it to the public. It's all over the world the same. Transparency is the main enemy of corruption. So, when you're coming back to our project, we have 8 main topics, 8 main components, and they are a little bit larger. So the first is what Lena just mentioned, is improvement of the capacity of the national coordinator against corruption and the focal points to develop corruption policies based on targeted risk assessment. This is a very important point. And to monitor and to report the implementation of the action plan of Albania and assess impact and setup of a sound performance assessment framework, including indicators and targets to the national anti-corruption strategy. This is one of the biggest and largest components we have, which is led by Lena. The second is improve in the capacity of Hidachi to audit asset declarations effectively. This is done by us in close collaboration with a project from the Council of Europe. And the third is the improvement in the capacity of responsible authorities and Hidachi to implement the conflict of interest law effectively. And the fourth is establishment of mechanism for implementation of the whistleblower protection law, especially for the private sector. The whistleblower protection law was done and provided especially by the Matra project from the Dutch embassy. So the fifth is the improvement of effective oversight and control of political party financing, and this is also by us done in close collaboration with the Council of Europe and also with the OSCE. And the sixth is the assistance to the establishment of mechanism for the implementation of the access to information law, together with the data protection commissioner. And the seventh is the assistance to the establishment of mechanism for discussing the high state audit's findings through the parliament and government, as well as the assistance to the improvement of cooperation between high state audit and other state institutions. And last but not least, the eighth component is assistance to improve public intolerance of corruption through awareness campaigns and in the media and training, and encouraging cooperation with the civil society. So this is more than a brief overview, but it's a large project. Thanks.
A large project and a lot of things to do. But which are, from these 8 components, which do you think that Albania has to work more, or it's working more in order to reach that European dream that Albanians wanted from the beginning of 90s?
Not surprising, I would say the component I'm working with is the most important one. But in a way, you would say, if all of these activities that Detlef mentioned, part of the other components, are part or should be part of the strategy and the action plan. So if you want to have whistleblower protection and you don't have it, you have to put it in the action plan. So if let's say on the highest level, on the strategic level, you are not taking this seriously by having a good strategy, good measurements, good monitoring, and good repression, then nothing will work. So there, I think this is the basis. If you get this working, then you can start with other things. But if this is missing...
Also, Albania has made other strategies or other laws very good in the paper, but what is missing is implementation. Why do you think that it will work in with the anti-corruption policies, or do you think that it will work with anti-corruption policies finally?
We can see some really good examples. The problem is, I think, that these examples are not put to the public, because if you want to be very honest, Albania has a serious problem with corruption. There are serious people involved in corruption. If you are fighting corruption here, you are also making yourself very vulnerable. So now I think it's the time to have the support from the highest political level, to put the examples, the good examples out, and to protect these people that are actually doing things. So most Albanian people think nothing is happening, but actually things are happening, but it is also done some way a little bit in the shadow because of this problem.
Yeah, the Albanians, they hope actually from Europe to do something because they don't trust so much Albanian institutions to take measures. So that's why maybe the Albanian public will believe much more in your project or the European Union than Albanian institutions. And I want to ask you, which are the concrete actions taken in the framework of the projects to reduce the corruption risks in Albania?
So first let me emphasize that we are the so-called twinning project. So we can only give our support to the Albanian government, to the Albanian administration, and also to the Albanian public. So, and we are working together with the Albanian administration, with the Albanian public. So we are not here to push or something else. We are here to support. So, and we will do it with our experts we have here, with our long-lasting experience, and find a way to come to the standards of the European Union in the anti-corruption strategy and measures. So this is our main focus, and this is also the kind and question of the twinning project at all. So the main points to focus on in our view is the risk analysis for corruption risk and to reduce these risks. It's all over the world the same. So also here in Albania it is. And look at other countries in the member states of the European Union, it's also there to look at the risk, to have a clear overview of the risk analysis and then the concrete measures to reduce these risks. So this is done by corruption proofing of laws, for instance, as by trainings or by improvement to a relevant institution. As there are the NCRC I mentioned before, the IDACI, the CEC, the Data Protection Commissioner, and the High State Audit. So when we're coming back to the single topics, I explained it in our working plan. It's a huge working plan we have here about these 8 components with several activities beyond this. And one of the main focuses especially is the component 1, which is led by Lena.
Let me say something about this risk assessment. I mean, risk assessment are used today in Albania to some extent, especially also in private sector, but in public sector, within the internal auditors, for instance. It's a management tool because there are so many risks. Corruption risk is one type of risk. So now we are trying to sharpen this tool to have it as a tool to fight corruption, which means that you will put the resources where you have the biggest risks, and risk being assessed as both the consequences, if they happen, and the frequency that they will occur. So it will be a professional way. I think we are now moving from a theoretical knowledge about risk assessment to on-the-job training, and to do trainings that are more like workshops, where we will actually have concrete practical results at the end of this.
Important is also to have the support of the public opinion. There is a say of George Washington, with public opinion on our side, we can do everything. Without it, we can do nothing. Is it part of your strategy? My question is to both of you, to involve also in the public opinion in Albania to support this project.
Yes, of course, yeah. Yes, this is one of the main topics, next to Lena's component 1, of course. This is in our component 8, and it's coming over also to the other component. This is one of the main topics to involve the public society, to strengthen the ear and the voice of the public society. So you made just the hint for George Washington. Yes, I can totally agree with you. Thanks.
And I think, coming back to the good examples, I think that, you know, I just hate when I hear it, people saying, this is Albania, which is saying, nothing will work here, this is how we are, and I think people are lacking good examples. So when we can use the good examples, then we can instill some hope and some trust in the Albanian public that the central administration will do something. So I think this is important.
When I was making an interview again for EU Policy Hub with the MP Knut Fleckenstein, he told for EU Policy Hub that Albanian public has to know that European Union is not a private club for politicians, but is a union for citizens. And a very important role are playing in Albania, and also to the integration process, also the civil society organizations. Have you planned to collaborate also with civil society organizations that are dealing with corruption and with this topic?
Yes, I totally agree. I know Mr. Fleckstein very well. He's also from Hamburg, just me. I'm from Hamburg, so we know us together very good. And yes, of course, I can agree. And we started just last week with some discussion with 11 NGOs we had on board, and we are talking about part of the project in the week before the 9th of December. You know, the 9th of December is the International Anti-Corruption Day, to have some events which were open for the public and to discuss with public institutions and with private institutions especially. So we are now in the starting phase to make these preparations, and we'll come back to these NGOs and to other NGOs in I think in some weeks.
How you will engage the civil society organization in your component?
If you look at the mandate of the National Coordinator on Anti-Corruption as it is now, one of the, let's say, the 6 groups of responsibilities is to collaborate with the civil society. And here we could inspire them by bringing some best practice from other, because I think this is an area that needs to be, let's say, started, because it hasn't really started, to be honest. But because of weak resources for the National Anti-Corruption Coordinator, not, I think, because of lack of will. So I think that when we are working on component 1, this is as important as the other aspect of the competence. To not be afraid to work with the civil society, to make an assessment, and to find forums and relationship how you should work. And here we can look at other countries. We are especially bringing in experts from the Baltic states that has a similar, let's say, context or near in time experience, and I think they could actually have a very good advice on this. I also wanted to say there is also another aspect of civil society in this aspect of bringing them on board and getting them engaged in anti-corruption. We have so many experts that are coming. Some of them are more, let's say, technical, reviewing laws and sitting doing desk studies, but some are doing analysis and are making recommendations that are very interesting for the civil society to take part in. So we are now introducing a formal roundtable where our expert at the last day of their visit will meet civil society and share their analysis. And I think this is a way to make good use of our expert and also to connect our project directly with the civil society.
And my last question is, again, for the public opinion. As we said, that public opinion is very important. So what can you say to the Albanians that are listening to this interview right now to support this anti-corruption project and to live in a country with no corruption?
To live in a country without any corruption is not possible. even in Finland, there may be a small case.
Also not have so much corruption.
Yes, so much. Yeah, you have to reduce it. Yes, of course. Corruption is damaging the economy of the state, of course. And I think to come into this process of discussion about anti-corruption measures in the public is one of the most important things. And I want to invite the Albanian public to come into this project, to raise your voices, and we have the opportunity to make some open discussions with the Albanian people and NGOs in the next few weeks, I think, and I hope it could be shared very well.
I mean, it's really hard to give an advice, but I think if it's in the mindset, I would ask the Albanian public to stop saying this is Albania with that hopelessness, but to say this is Albania, we have now a possibility to change it, to have some energy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time and for your words. Miq dhe ju policia, kjo edhe ishte intervistë e radhës, të njohim projektet e Bashkimit Evropian dhe ishte pikërisht projekti implementimi, koordinimi I politikave antikorrupsion, një projekt I qeverisë shqiptare në bashkëpunim me atë gjermane dhe austriake të financuar nga Bashkimi Evropian. Faleminderit.